Liberia, come close. You deserve an apology. I am sorry that you had to watch your president humiliated on the world stage. I am sorry that you had to watch him laugh awkwardly, cornered by the weight of benevolent racism masked as a compliment. I'm sorry that after all these years, the perpetrators of this unfair treatment still have no plans of letting up anytime soon. But you know what, Liberia? Your story doesn't end there. It's just one chapter, albeit a bad one, but we can do something about it. Now, the question is, what are we going to do about it? And if you're wondering what it is I'm talking about, well, look at this clip.
I want to thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, and such good English, such beautiful. Where did you,
know.
where did you learn to speak so beautifully?
And somehow I believe that there are people, many of whom don't think that there's anything wrong with that exchange. They actually do think that it's a compliment. And I say that because I've encountered one very close to me. So I can imagine that there are many of them out there roaming the streets today. But look, I'm going to hold your hand while I say this. It is not a compliment. And before the Nigerian arm of the Republican Party come for me, before you fix your thumb to start ranting and saying that we are woke and we get angry at every little thing that Trump does, this is not about Trump. This is about the institutionalized racism that many Africans face. If you're wondering what exactly it is I'm talking about, I would invite you to go and read up on benevolent racism and paternalism. These two concepts will help you understand why what the Liberian president experienced in this exchange with President Trump is just downright racist. Better yet, if reading is not your thing, perhaps you might consider speaking with other black people who live in racially diverse countries so that you can understand this concept of microaggressions by non-black people, especially to black people or other colored people who live in the West particularly. You're going to need to do a lot of reading. And honestly, if after reading that you still don't get it, you still don't get why this is problematic, then maybe this conversation is not for you. And I'll be the first to acknowledge it. So take your time, live through the world, gain some more real life experience, and maybe sometime in the future, you can come back and visit this conversation with more clarity, depth, nuance, and most importantly, life experience. For the rest of you who know that this is problematic but just don't understand why it is so problematic, let me paint this picture for you. You see, a while ago, well, not a while ago, years ago, decades ago, I'm saying back to the 1800s, when Americans started to free enslaved Africans, they had this thing called a problem of free slaves. I mean, they became a problem because, you couldn't exactly use them for whatever it was that you wanted them for anyway. And so what did America do? They began to bring a lot of those formerly enslaved people back to Africa, and they dumped a lot of them in Liberia, never minding if that was where they picked them from in the first place or not. Remember, slavery went on in the US for at least 400 years, so it was a very, very long time. You see, the Liberian capital, Monrovia, was actually named after a former US President, James Monroe. This is the Liberian flag, and this is the American flag. Liberians speak English. In fact, it is the official language of the country. So, America and Liberia are so intertwined in the way that for President Trump not to know, it's just downright insulting. It's like your father forgetting your birthday. That's how bad this is. So if you're wondering why it is not a compliment, well, I think this might help, but you know what would always help even better? Go and do some more reading. But you see, it's not just about Liberia here. It's also the other four African countries who visited President Donald Trump at the White House that I feel need an apology in some way. So here is my apology to Senegal. Look, I'm sorry that your president had to offer up your land to President Donald Trump to build a golf course just so that he could tap minerals on your land. Because you have to understand that these African countries went to visit Donald Trump to have a business conversation with him in this his new trade not aid policy. And so for many of them, they have petrol, they have rare earth, they have a lot of mineral resources in their territory, and they're looking to let the US come in and mine. And even then, it still didn't feel like a meeting amongst equals, did it? And I know, Senegal doesn't have a huge budget to buy President Trump a new jets, or they don't even have him. I don't know if they have McDonald's in in Senegal, but they don't have a mobile McDonald's truck to, take to the White House to, I don't know, serve President Trump like the Saudi Arabians did. But honestly, I feel bad that they had to offer up their land to Trump to build the golf course just so he could do business with them. I'm sorry, my Senegalese brethren, that, we had to do this. Maybe in the future, we wouldn't have to offer up a piece of our land to people who are going to come in and mine our resources anyway while not paying what is actually due us. I'm sorry, Gabon, that your president had to tell Donald Trump that he would consider voting for him to win the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, look at the face of the Gabonese presidents. Does this look like the face of somebody who actually believes what he's saying? And again, I'm not going to act like a mind reader. I really don't know if the Gabonese president feels that way about Trump, about Trump's fit to be granted a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know if he actually thinks that Trump merits it. But hey, it will be interesting to know what you think. I'm sorry. Well, I don't know if I'm sorry to the Gabon to the people of Guinea-Bissau. I don't know if I can say I'm sorry to the people of Guinea-Bissau. I mean, this feels like a win for them. At least the US doesn't see you as a narco state anymore. You're now, your president visited the White House, so it looks like a win for you, doesn't it? Especially at this time that the president is under fire at home for delaying elections. This sort of feels like a pat on the back. You're such a good boy, I would say. But you know who I'm also really sorry for? Mauritania. Look, I'm sorry to the people of Mauritania. I'm sorry that your president bored President Donald Trump. If you're wondering why I'm saying that, this is what President Donald Trump did while the president of Mauritania was speaking. And if you're wondering what he was talking about that bored President Trump so much, it was their water resources, their natural water resources. Never mind that this meeting between these 5 African leaders and Trump was scheduled to hold for 3 days. They had 3 days of meetings. So there was enough time for everybody to make their pitch. But, anything that is not flattering to Trump's ego is just boring to him. If you're not telling him how he deserves to win the Nobel Prize or how you're going to give up your land for him to build a golf course, you're boring him out. And if you're not even speaking English, well, please keep that away from him. I want to say that this is how Trump treats black people, especially when you see the exchange between him and President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa. You want to say, oh, he doesn't respect black people, but it's not true. He just doesn't respect anybody who's not kissing his behind. I think he's just that man. He, just doesn't care. But honestly, this is not about Trump. I really don't care for him that much. This for me is more about what this meeting means for Africa. and our future relationship with whether allies or, you know, other global superpowers, whether it is US, Russia, China, whichever country it is that we're relating with. I think that this is a wake up call for Africans to approach these conversations from a place of strength. We need to show up to these rooms as equals. We need to show up to these rooms with all the energy that we can muster. And to be honest, sometimes we need to learn to walk away. It is in times like this that I'm happy that President Cyril Ramaphosa stood up to President Trump. I mean, it cost them 30% tariff on South African exports to the US, but at least nobody will say that President Ramaphosa took it lying down. He stood up. And so, Africans, we have a lot of work to do. We do. And a lot of that work starts internally. And I'm here feeling very hyped about the future. I know that we can. I know that we will. It's just a question of when are we going to start. My name is Chika, and I make videos like this on Pan-African issues on my YouTube channel. If you've loved this video, please check out other videos right here on my channel and let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.